This is the complete rundown of the Despicable Me franchise in timeline order, including all 4 Despicable Me films, 2 Minions flicks, and every Minions mini-movie. Here we go!
Let's do it! Whoop whoop!
The Minions are small yellow merchandising opportunities who have existed since the beginning of time, with their sole purpose to serve the most despicable masters they can find. This includes, but not limited to, Jurassic Park, Grug, and Adam Sandler's character from Hotel Transylvania. Unfortunately,
finding a boss was easy. Keeping a boss, therein lies the rub.
Leading the Minions without an evil leader for many years. One day, One Eyes, Two Eyes, and each eye a different colour, also known as Kevin, Bob and Stu, set out to 1960s New York to find a new evil master. It's here where the Minions learn about VillainCon, a convention for, get this, villains. They hitch a ride with a criminal family known as the Nelsons, who make a quick pit stop to rob a bank, presumably to pay for all the merchandise at the convention.
We're here for so much fun. It's a crime.
At VillainCon, the trio are recruited by the supervillain with a name to match, Scarlet Overkill. The 3 Minions notify the rest of the crew about their success and set out to join them with very questionable geographic travelling. She takes the Minions to a home in England and tasks them with stealing some of their history for a change, that item being the Queen's crown. Things don't go quite to plan, but when Bob reenacts this scene from the recently released The Sword and the Stone, he's declared King of England. Scarlet feels betrayed because she wanted to rule the nation, so she turns against the Minions and battles them, plus the rest of the crew who have just shown up. The Minions ultimately defeat Scarlet because they're the title of the movie, not her. In the end, the Minions are honoured by the Queen, despite them being the reason the crown was taken in the first place. However, the crown is once again stolen, this time by a kid named Gru, so he's the new master the Minions pursue. Cro Minion is a mini-movie that takes place during the Stone Age period of the first Minions movie. 2 of the Minions are relaxing under a banana tree, eating, get this, bananas. A caveman tasks the Minions to look after his child while he goes to do the grocery shopping. The child, who's got last night's dinner stuck in their hair, starts attacking the Minions, so is tied up. But that doesn't last long and ends up being taken away by Jurassic Flight to its nest. The Minions rescue the kid and return to the caveman's cave just as he's returning with some roadkill. Grug orders the Minions to cook the bull, which they do, only for the kid to then break the world speed eating record before blaming it on the Minions. The caveman chases after the Minions as Jurassic Flight returns for the kid. Did any of them survive? That's one of life's biggest unsolved mysteries. Binky Nelson Unpacified follows the Nelson family from the Minions movie. They've just finished a successful heist in the National Museum when Binky realizes that he's left his Binky at the scene of the crime. So that night, Binky returns to the museum, making his way past the security system while the security guard reads a Woody's Roundup comic. Unfortunately, the Rugrat sets off an alarm, leading to the security guard noticing all the stolen artifacts and blaming it on a literal baby. But this literal baby is so intelligent, his brain should be studied, so he easily escapes with his Binky and an additional souvenir from the guard. Competition is a Minions mini-movie that takes place in Area 52, also known as a secret underground bomb lab. 2 Minions are working on plans when they decide to waste some paper by having a game of real-life paper toss. There are a total of 3 attempts before they run out of supplies. Luckily, they can solve their competition with a conveniently placed boxing ring in the middle of their office. They each land about as many punches as I do in a game of Wii Sports. This then turns into a thumb war, then slaps, then strapping fire extinguishers to a chair and using them for their intended purpose, a race through the hall. Along the way, they set off some inconveniently placed bombs, which they ride to the bottom of the lab, which explodes. But they obviously survive, as does a 4th sheet of paper, ready to do it all over again. It's 1972, and 2 toy sales decide to easily walk past an unalert security into an art gallery because they're serving macarons. Meanwhile, an art critic is walking around, unimpressed by the designs, until he stumbles upon a piece of artwork created by Minion Claude when he was trying to eat a fire extinguisher. It's loved so much by the critic that Claude goes on a nationwide tour to create more of these Milster pieces. Claude gets to live through 15 minutes of fame before his art starts to become repetitive and boring and is eventually replaced by a dog rubbing his butt on a canvas. Not to worry, because Claude is a minion of many talents and dances his way back to fame. Minions The Rise of Gru opens with the Sinister Six, known as the Vicious Six. They steal an artifact known as the Zodiac Stone, but betray their leader, Red Shirt Knuckles, not to be confused with Red Fur Knuckles. The Vicious Six become the Pretty Average Five, now led by Bell Bottom, who, get this, wears bell bottoms. Meanwhile, an 11-year-old Gru is dreaming every kid's dream to become the world's greatest supervillain. He idolizes the Vicious Six, so when he learns that they're seeking a new sixth member to make that name make sense again, Gru makes sure he's part of the consideration. However, at the audition, the Pretty Average Five laugh at him because of his age. But how foolish they are, because Gru and Toy Sales successfully steal the Zodiac Stone from their headquarters. But just when Gru thought he was on top of the world in a metaphorical sense, new Toy Sales traded the stone for a different, much less valuable type of stone.
Thank you, Rakirutu!
As Gru leaves to search for the Zodiac Stone, he's kidnapped by Red Shirt Knuckles in a shady van. But he just wants the stone so he can get revenge on the Pretty Average Five. So Toy Sales have just 48 hours to deliver it to him or Gru will be killed. Unable to find the stone, One Eye, Two Eyes, and each eye a different colour set out to rescue Gru, while new Toy Sales goes to reverse the trade that got him much less valuable stone. Kevin, Bob and Stu easily get past security at an airport and pilot a commercial plane to Gru's location because it's 1976. They then train to become the next Karate Kid, so they're skillful enough to get past Red Shirt Knuckles. Speaking of who, he's starting to see Gru's potential as a supervillain and teaches him the ways of the dark side of the Force.
You want me to teach you a thing or two?
Meanwhile, new Toy Sales finds the person with the Zodiac Stone, who gives it to him so the plot can progress. Then they ride off into the sunset to help save Gru. When they're reunited, they're cornered by the Pretty Average Five, who take back the Zodiac Stone, transforming themselves into a dragon, tiger, serpent, ape, and bull. Not to worry, because they're no match for Toy Sales, who unleash their
Inner beast!
to become a ferocious rabbit, chicken, and goat to win the movie.
How does it feel to be beaten by a happy little punk?
The Vicious Six are arrested, but Red Shirt Knuckles fakes his own death.
To avoid the authorities!
Gru is now ready to expand on his supervillain activity, so he tries to hire Dr. Nefario as his gadget inventor, only for the offer to be rejected due to not wanting to be involved in the industry anymore. So the Toy Sales do their best impression of Puss in Boots, which is enough to convince the Doctor to join them. Minions and Monsters is a mini-movie following a group of minions playing definitely not Dungeons & Dragons. They battle trolls and frost giants and Smaug in a fantastical adventure. It's orientation day for 3 new minions ready to work for Gru Laboratories. They start by watching a training video that hasn't been updated in 15 years. They're each tasked with transporting a different sized bomb, which is not a metaphor for anything. Unfortunately, they have trouble with the task and the bombs explode. Luckily, the Gru Labs are short on staff, so nothing other than their faces are fired. It's banana, B-A-N-A-N-A. No S, because there's just one, which creates a conundrum because minions love the yellow fruit. So 3 of them wrestle over the banana, doing a great job not to bruise it, which is impressive due to the fruit's soft texture. The chaos leads to the rest of the minions at the lab wanting a bite, only for the banana to fall to its doom. But apparently, minions also like apples. The moral of the story? Don't forget to pack your own lunch or eat more discreetly. Gru is now an adult living in a house that was almost certainly designed by Tim Burton. He's still in search of becoming the world's greatest supervillain, and his plan to do that is by stealing the moon! Unfortunately, the moon is quite big, so Gru needs a shrink ray. Fortunately, Gru is able to steal one. Unfortunately, a new supervillain named Vector steals it off Gru. Fortunately, Gru plans on stealing it back. Unfortunately, that plan fails. Fortunately, Gru has a new plan. After his failed attempt to steal the shrink ray back off Vector, he sees 3 orphans successfully pass the security to deliver cookies. So Gru's plan is to adopt Margot, Edith, and Agnes to use them as a way in. The background check into adopting these children isn't very thorough, so Gru is now instantly the father of 3 children. Gru's plan to steal back the shrink ray from Vector is successful, now he just needs to get rid of those kids. But their innocence and charm causes Gru's heart to take the same journey as the Grinch's. However, just before Gru's heart becomes full, he prioritizes the ambition of becoming the greatest supervillain of all time, leading him to unadopting Margot, Edith, and Agnes.
I did it for your own good.
Gru blasts off in a rocket from his home, not affecting any of the surrounding houses due to its impeccable engineering, then uses the shrink ray to steal the moon. When he returns home, Gru learns that the girls have been kidnapped by Vector, who demands the moon in exchange for their safety. Gru's love for the girls outweighs his love of small spheres, so he hands it over. But Vector was living up to the super part of being a supervillain and refuses to release Margot, Edith, and Agnes. In a thrilling showdown, Gru, with the help of his toy sales and the power of love, rescue the girls and defeat Vector. However, no one read the terms and conditions of the shrink ray, as the small size is not a permanent change, leading to the moon expanding and returning to space with Vector. In the end, Gru adopts Margot, Edith, and Agnes and becomes a loving father with the dance moves to rival Peter Parker. Vector, who's still stuck on the moon, tries swimming back to Earth, only to be knocked back by a minion who drank an anti-gravity serum. Vector's next plan of action is to take flight in the first space shuttle that landed on the moon, but as we know from the first Minions movie, it's a fake. He then does his best impression of a balloon and Mr. Fantastic, but neither help him get back home. Luckily for the minion, he has phone reception and calls his buddies to pick him up in their ship. One last attempt from Vector using all the rockets goes much worse than he planned, ending further away on Mars. Margot receives a phone call from the orphanage informing her that a social worker will be over to do an inspection of their house. Unfortunately, Gru's house wouldn't pass any OHS test, so the girls and the minions do a complete home makeover in about 5 minutes. But when the social worker arrives, Gru is still out buying plutonium, so they have to do the old stacking oneself inside an oversized trench coat to look like an adult trick. But oh no, Gru has returned home with the plutonium. Who is the real Gru? The social worker passes out in shock, then Gru passes out in shock due to the state of his house. But it's okay, because they passed the inspection. Minion Dave sees the entire neighborhood all walking their dogs at the same time for some reason and feels left out, so he tries to take Kyle for a walk, but he's not having any of it. However, Dave is just happy to walk anything, so he tries a few animals before settling on a ladybug, only for it to be abducted by a tiny UFO. So Dave walks that. The UFO becomes the perfect pet, doing everything you'd want a pet to do, like enlarging bananas, no that wasn't a euphemism, and drawing butts in the sky, also not a euphemism. But the UFO wants to return home, so Dave messages its friends and family who come to Earth and reunite. As the UFO is leaving, it gives Dave back the ladybug and enlarges it so Kyle's collar can now fit around it, ready to go on many walks. A top secret lab in the Antarctic Circle is being stolen by a giant magnet. We then cut to Gru, who is retired from villainy, focusing on raising his children, but immediately loses focus on raising his children when he's abducted by Lucy Wilde of the Anti-Villain League.
An ultra-secret organization dedicated to fighting crime on a global scale.
Gru is taken to the AVL headquarters and meets Salius Ramsbottom, who has suspicions that the stolen lab contains the PX41 serum, a powerful mutagen that can transform living beings into purple hulks. The Anti-Villain League is too lazy to do their job, so they want Gru to track the thief down. Gru is reluctant, but he's the main character, so he has to agree. So together, Gru and Lou set out on the investigation. The two go undercover at Bake My Day, which is a pun for Make My Day, but because it's a bakery, the word make has been replaced with bake. It's very clever. They probably sell out every day. The punny bakery is located in the same mall as their suspect, but are unsure which other pun name shop it is until Gru immediately figures it out. He suspects it's Eduardo Perez, the owner of a Mexican restaurant, due to his similar look of El Macho, a notorious villain who was believed to be dead in an active volcano. But Gru is convinced El Macho is alive because they never found the body of someone who is supposed to be at the bottom of molten lava. You know, a death notorious for recovering the body. While Gru and Lou are trying to prove their suspicions, they begin to develop feelings for each other. Also, Margot starts dating Eduardo's son, Minion Dave has a crush on Lucy, and Eduardo may be in love with this chicken. It's too early to tell. As long as it's consensual, each to their own. To the surprise of absolutely no one, it's revealed that Eduardo is indeed El Macho. He plans to use the Super Soldier Serum to create an army of Purple Hulk minions and conquer the world. El Macho has captured the toy sales and mutated them thanks to the help of Dr. Nefario, who wanted to remain evil when Gru gave up that life to make
delicious jams and jellies.
But El Macho is too evil for Dr. Nefario, so he turns back to the light side of the Force, warning Gru that El has Lou. Gru sets out to save Lou, while Nefario infuses the jams and jellies with a Purple Hulk antidote and reverts the minions back to their usual yellow form. While Lucy is tied to every single rocket that El Macho has in his possession, Gru confronts him, only for El to drink the Super Soldier Serum and become a Purple Hulk himself. It's a long, tough, intense battle. I'm just kidding, Macho loses pretty much immediately to a fart gun. But Lucy is still tied up to those rockets. Unfortunately, as Gru goes to save her, that chicken sets the rocket off. I knew El Macho and that bird were in love. Gru and Lou ride the rocket, trying to deactivate it, before realizing they can just jump off into the water and survive that way. 147 dates later, Gru becomes a loving husband to Lou with dance moves to rival the Joker. It's December, meaning the mailroom at Gru's labs is busy. Minion Dave is stamping the packages while Minion Ken is sending them into the chutes. One of the packages gets stuck in the chute and upon fixing the situation, explodes, covering Ken in the purple goo that turns him evil. But it's only momentarily as he switches back, only now his hair is cosplaying a punk rocker from the early 2000s. Ken mutates back and forth between yellow and purple, even eating some of the packages. Dave finds this hilarious until one of the parcels comes through with 3 adorable kittens inside. He saves the day, just as the super evil serum is wearing out of Ken. But before it's all gone, he does a pre-2019 sneeze, sneezing out the remaining serum onto the kittens, turning them into giant mutated cats. An ice cream van is out in the street, so Margot, Edith, and Agnes ride after the delicious treat. But when riding away, Agnes falls off her bicycle, so the minions cheer her up with a bike that's even more cool. The girls pedal towards the ice cream truck just as a robber is stealing the vehicle. What bad luck! But Agnes is determined to eat an ice cream, so she chases after at full steam. She stops the thief in the heart of the town with a fiery crash, causing ice cream to rain down. Agnes's bike is destroyed due to the pursuit, but it's okay, the minions replace it with an Iron Man suit. The minions are sucked in by an infomercial for a blender, which they can use to blend bananas. For just one easy low payment of $19.95, minus postage and handling, the blender can be theirs. The only problem is, the minions are broke. Suddenly, they have an epiphany after seeing a lawnmower being underpaid for their service. The minions steal the gardening supplies and start mowing the lawns of a retirement home. They also destroy a gnome, blow up a barbecue, step in dog poo, eat dog poo, get their head stuck in a beehive, and whack themselves in the face with a rake. All part of the minions going above and beyond the service. They're paid for their due and purchase the blender, only for them to be too tired to press the on button. Luckily, there's an infomercial for an even more expensive blender that can do that for them, so they suddenly all have the energy to get back to work, which is a different type of energy required to press a button apparently. Agnes is scared of the dark, so the minions try to rectify that by going to space. Don't worry, there's more to this plan. Once in orbit, they release a device. Unfortunately, one of the minions is caught on and flies out with the package. Another one goes out to try and save the day, but fails. Or so we think. They survive. The device shines a bright rainbow light into Agnes's room. Now she can sleep soundly while the others are blinded by the light. Despicable Me 3 introduces us to a new villain named Balthazar Brat, who has a very Marvel name like Bruce Banner, Betty Brant, Blackagar Boltagon, and of course, J. Jonah, Jimmy, Jason, Jackson, Jordan, Jasmine, Julian, Josephine, Jessica, Jameson, Jr. But this isn't a Marvel movie. Balthazar is a former child star from the 80s. The 1980s, not the 1380s. He's not a time traveler. He is, however, obsessed with the character he played on the show, Evil Brat, a show about a brat who was evil. Because of Balthazar's obsession with the character, he's turned to a life of crime. He tries to steal a big pink diamond, but is stopped by Gru and Lou.
This is not over!
Yeah, well, I still have the diamond.
The anti-villain league show their gratitude by firing them because they didn't capture Brat, which is kind of fair enough because Balthazar immediately steals the diamond back. He wants the jewel to power a giant robot and destroy Hollywood as revenge for his show getting cancelled.
Brat quickly plunged into a downward spiral.
Meanwhile, Gru is feeling down and struggling with his identity and purpose until he learns of a long-lost twin brother who's also named Gru, but the G is replaced with a D and it's pronounced Drew.
I have a brother.
Gru, Lou, their kids, and some of the toy sales fly over to meet the newly learnt about family member. Drew is essentially the same as Gru, but wears a white jacket instead of a black jacket.
And all of the hair with the silky smooth, luxurious
Hair.
Gru reveals that their father was a legendary supervillain and wants to follow in his footsteps, so asks Gru to teach him the ways of the dark side. Gru doesn't want to because he lives on the light side of the Force now, but agrees to help Gru live out his wishes because he plans to steal back the diamond, capture Balthazar, hand them over to the AVL, get his job back, and maybe a pay rise and more holiday leave.
Oh, a chihuahua.
Meanwhile, Lucy's trying to earn the title of mother from Margot, Edith, and Agnes by giving them exactly what they want. As for the minions, well, most of them quit because Gru is no longer a villain, but no job equals no money, so they chase after Peter Parker's pizza delivery replacement, which leads them on stage of a talent show. The minions' singing is so bad that they're sent to prison. Just kidding, they get a standing ovation. The prison stint is due to them trespassing. Alright, so Drew and Gru steal the diamond from Brat. They evade in a helicopter piloted by Lucy. Brat steals the diamond back from Gru disguised as Lou. The mask is of Mission Impossible quality, so he's also able to kidnap the girls. Meanwhile, the minions escape from prison because they miss Gru. Gru has a dance-off against Brat that'd rival Peter Quill. Then all of them work together to defeat Balthazar Brat. Despite not being the ones who actually captured Brat, Gru and Lou are reinstated by the AVL. The girls call Lucy their mother before Drew carries on the family tradition by becoming a villain. Set during the events of Despicable Me 3 while the minions are still in prison, Minion Bill and Minion Todd are chained up in the desert, picking up trash. Suddenly, another inmate uses the minions to escape. They board a truck which doesn't stop for the police sirens, only when a cop car blocks its path. Polito's party supplies must be a cover for something sinister. Anyway, the prisoners escape through the roof and continue to easily evade literally every police officer in town. It isn't until one of the minions' chains gets caught on a train track where the other inmate leaves them to die. The train breaks the chain, releasing all the prisoners from their restraints. The minions go their separate way into a circus, shooting themselves out of a cannon and flying away like Rocky in Chicken Run. Unfortunately, like Rocky from Chicken Run, the cannon fires them into a fenced-off facility, which for the minions is back to prison. The minions are putting on a puppet show when Margot, Agnes, and Edith return from camp. They're in awe of the girls' badges and want some of their own, so they sign up for a camp themselves. They're unsuccessful in earning a badge from tenting, starting a marshmallow oven, outdoor grocery shopping, along with every other task. But with enough determination, the minions are finally able to start a fire, only for them to accidentally blow up a dam and nearly drowning. They return home battered, bruised, and badgeless, but the girls have loads, so they each give them their least favourite, cheering them up. The minions show off their badges to their peers, who become jealous, so they all head off to camp to earn one of their own. The secret life of Kyle is a secret, so I'll tell you about it as long as you promise not to tell anyone. Kyle does dog things like chasing a postie, chewing a chew toy, and falling in love with a poodle. Unfortunately, Kyle has competition. As Kyle sadly walks the streets, he sees a girl's best friend in a shop window and steals the diamond-encrusted collar, only for his competition to then steal it from him. Luckily, the poodle is more into Kyle's chew toy and metaphorically steals his heart. Toy sales are dropped off at Santa's toy factory, where they're put to work preparing other toys for Christmas. They aren't great at that, so they're transferred to gingerbread building, but that doesn't work out either, leading to another demotion, picking up reindeer poop. If you thought this would work out, then you haven't been listening to any of my previous breakdowns, because they accidentally unleash the flying deers, causing so much chaos throughout the workshop that they end up taking off with Santa's sleigh and the presents. If it's any consolation though, the minions do end up delivering some of those presents. Gru attends his alma mater reunion, where he reunites with his rival, Maxime, who has a grudge on Gru after stealing his act during a talent show when they were at school. Since then, Maxime has transformed part of himself into a cockroach to conquer the world, but is immediately arrested and is locked up for a full 20 minutes or so before escaping. Maxime's master plan is similar to the lizards in The Amazing Spider-Man, but instead of turning the world into lizards, wants to transform everyone into people-roach hybrids, starting with Gru and Lucy's new child, Gru II. Due to this circumstance, the family are relocated to protect them from Maxime. During this time, they take up new names and identities, which they work in for one shift before moving back to the movie's plot. Meanwhile, the minions are working for the AVL, where 5 of them are selected to become new merchandise opportunities, gaining superpowers under the Mega Minions initiative, before doing superhero stuff like reenacting another Spider-Man movie. But Peter was more successful. So, they're sent on retirement, where one makes friends with seagulls, another puts holes in cheese, this one makes honey, Mr. Fantastic falls in love with a cow, and the Thing beats the casino. Back in witness protection, their neighbor Poppy is an aspiring villain and recognizes Gru. She threatens to blow his cover unless he helps her steal the villain's school honey badger so she can be accepted in the academy. So he helps and they're successful, but are tracked down by Maxime due to the badger having a tracker in its collar. Maxime arrives at the house and kidnaps Gru Jr., so the Mega Minions leave retirement to help with the rescue, just after Gru has already defeated the villain.
Nice try.
Gru visits Maxime in prison and reconcile their differences by having the rest of the familiar prisoners decide who is better at singing Everybody Wants to Rule the World. Let me know in the comments who won. After breaking a gaming controller, Red Shirt Minion replaces it with an advanced device that controls Blue Shirt Minion, who's now in a real-life video game scoring in points, getting a new high score before the controller switches hands. It's Benny's birthday and the Minions have a party all ready to go. It's Benny's birthday and the Minions have a party all ready to go. It's Benny's birthday and the Minions have a party. It's Benny's birthday and it's Benny's. But after a lot of trial and error, Benny's finally able to stop the time loop and enjoy his birthday. And now you're all caught up on the Despicable Me franchise. You're welcome! Let me know in the comments what your favourite film is in the Despicable Me series. And don't forget to absolutely obliterate that like, subscribe and share button. I'm just kidding. Only do it with enough force that it registers. I don't want any of you breaking whatever device you're watching this on.